The title of this video said 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. It's actually more than 10,000 times by which you can increase your returns in some of these projects. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video.
Meet NordPass. It creates strong passwords for you, keeps them safely locked in a single place, and automatically logs you into all of your favorite online accounts. And you can access it all on all of your devices, even when you're offline. That's NordPass.
Ready to hop in the 6-4 and cruise around the blocks? There's a storm coming to the underworld and the heat is on. Take over the blocks and call the shots. It's time to hustle or get hustled. What's it gonna be? Stay sharp. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Don't let them catch you slipping. Only real gangsters thrive in the dope wars world.
Hey Gio, hey Mark, thank you so much for making yourselves available. You are the devs for Yeildmos and also dexmos, and we're going to talk about those and how they can really inform people's trading within the Cosmos ecosystem. Now, before I do that, what I want to say to people is please do subscribe, follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, join my official Telegram announcements channel, and you see this bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey. I post all my material there, including the material that YouTube doesn't like, because I cover crypto and I cover politics. And also on bit.ly/CryptoRich3Speak. You can also find me on Rumble and 2 YouTube channels, but most of my material, in fact, all my material is on Odyssey. Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much. Like I said, you're the devs for Yeildmos and dexmos. Let's start with dexmos. And actually, before that, let's say this is one of a series of videos where I cover projects within the Cosmos ecosystem, and in particular those that are traded on Osmosis, the Osmodex. And you keep them in a Keplr wallet and do all of that sort of stuff. And I've been doing very, very well with that. Very, very well. So let's start with dexmos first. So,
sure.
What is dexmos?
Dexmos is an analytics platform for the tools on Osmosis, right? It gives you sort of a little bit of insight into what the true APRs are when you provide liquidity and bond that liquidity on Osmosis.
Okay. Okay, now it's a free-to-use website. Let me just open that up right now. Okay. This is dexmos, dexmos.app, and I shall link to this in the description, below the video, and people can go check it out. It's free to use. I have been using it for a while, and I've also done a video where I've covered it. And one of the things that I did is I think normally when you open it up, it goes by total value locked. So you can see the Atom Osmo pool has the most money in it. Makes sense. But if I click on total return, it tells me this pool, Tori/Osmo, 20,646% return right now.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So there's this phenomenon that happens on Osmosis, not phenomenon, but this mechanic that happens on Osmosis where the rewards are only paid out to the liquidity, to the TVL that's bonded, right? So right there, you can see that only 11.3% of that 69,000 TVL is bonded. So you have like 7-ish thousand TVL that's receiving all of the rewards, right? So that's why you see such a crazy return.
Okay, so why haven't people bonded more?
If you click on the Tori Osmo pool, you'll get the answer.
Okay.
And now if you look at the Frontier page, you can see that there actually is no way, or there used to not be a way. So when I looked at this yesterday, you weren't able to bond using this GUI, using this website. So that's what happens is like these pools add rewards, but people aren't able to bond that liquidity, and that's why you get such low bonding rates. Now it's obviously different, but yesterday that wasn't the case.
Okay, so that would be smart for people to get in real early, because that's when you get the ridiculously, stupidly high rewards. I remember I put in some money into, I can't remember which pool last week. When the Juno pool opened, for 8 hours it was 10,000%, and then it dropped to a piddly silly 1000%.
Silly 1000%.
Ah,
So the
terrible.
APRs, yeah, terrible. The APRs are most accurate just before epoch, just before, like right at 17:15 UTC. That's when they're the most accurate.
Right. Now, okay. So the pools, they pay out rewards at 17:15 UTC every 24 hours, and you're saying at 17:15 UTC, that's where I'll get the most accurate APRs. Does that APR, does it go down slowly over the following 24 hours, or is it fixed for a pool at that point for the following 24 hours?
The APRs are calculated in near real time, and they
Right.
depend on a number of things, right? They depend on the amount of TVL that's in a pool, the amount of TVL that's bonded in a pool, and the amount of rewards that's being paid out, and the price of those rewards in on a USD basis.
Okay, and it's being calculated minute by minute by minute.
Every 3 to 5-ish minutes.
Right. Okay. Now, here is osmosis.info. This is pool 816, which is the Tory Osmo pool. And this is Osmosis Analytics. And it doesn't have an APR for this. It does have a calculator. So why the discrepancy? Which one is more accurate?
The Osmo pages aren't able to figure out how much of the liquidity is actually bonded. So Dexmos is more accurate because it is able to figure that out.
Okay.
So the Osmo pages assume that 100% of the liquidity is bonded, which, as we can see in some of those pools, that's not the case, especially early on when people haven't had the opportunity to do that.
So no disrespect to Osmo whatsoever, or the team of what they created. You know, I have said this on videos before that I put in $500 March 2020. I bought Atom on a whim, absolutely no research whatsoever. Started staking in my Exodus wallet. Then I learned Osmo's launch. So then I start compounding my Osmo returns because it was a rather feeble 500%. But hey ho, you know, I'll do what I make do with that, right? And then you know, it's compounding airdrops, and then getting into pooling. And I'm now at the point where, you know, I do social work 3 days a week as a child protection social worker, and I don't need the money from social work, because I'm making good income from the Osmo ecosystem. Now, of course, I want the money from social work because I don't want to spend my crypto. Because you know, Gresham's law, right?
Right.
Spend the bad money fast, and if you've got pounds, get rid of it real fast. All right. So, and also, what's great about, I suppose, the Osmo ecosystem is I'm earning in dollars, so that's great as well. Okay. So, for someone who's starting now, the other thing I want to say is that I am going to be I've done a couple of videos talking about how to get into Osmosis ecosystems, setting up your Keplr wallet, how to swap and trade, and then also how to farm and, you know, put money in pools. I've done another series of videos, very short videos, where I break it all down. I'll link to the first 2 videos, longer videos, in the description below if people want to get started. But what would you suggest? You know, what's the best way for somebody to find out where are they going to get the best returns? And then we'll start talking about how they can maximize those returns with Yeildmos. So what is the info page on Frontier useful for, and what is Dexmos useful for?
The info pages, the Frontier info pages, are useful to see, you know, charts like this. Here you have the price of Osmo relative to Tory and vice versa. You can switch the direction. So it sort of gives you like a historical price feed of
I can't switch it yet.
click on the 2 arrows in the middle between the 2 denoms. Those
Okay.
2 arrows.
Aha.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so this is probably a little bit different, right? So now you have Rebus or Tory in terms of Osmo, right? So you have one Tory equal to 0.2-ish Osmo, right? So about 22 cents, right, USD. And if you scroll down just a tad, you also see some of the more recent transactions in this pool, right?
Okay.
And here you're just looking at a bunch of arbitrage.
Yes. And then
So-
also it's got this calculator as well, which right now, because there's no interest, it's not calculating the interest. But I have found this useful once the interest is calculated, although you're saying that the Dexmos is more accurate because it accounts for how much of the value locked in the pool is actually bonded. And that's where you get the returns. Okay, so let's go over to Dexmos. So you see, what I did was I was using Dexmos, then I started using info on Frontier because I thought, well, it's Osmo and it's, they might have some inside info because it is there. Okay, so here we got, this has now started 432.97% return. The Luna Classic Osmo pool.
So what I would say though, because I'm a bit newer to crypto. George has been around for a long time. Actually, Dexmos is what brought me into the Cosmos ecosystem at all. What I would tell people, because I use Dexmos, just when I'm picking my own pools, is like, if you're new, you see the huge percentage, don't just jump to the huge percentage, right? Look through and I would say start from a point where the two tokens that are in the pool, right? There's nothing, I have nothing against Tori, right? And the return on that pool at the moment is great. But I would say stick to, Osmo is a pretty known entity, and do your research about what these other tokens are, because you could easily jump into that Luna C pool, right? That Luna Classic pool. It was Luna and Osmo, and if you don't understand the context there of what Luna Classic is, then you're kind of going a little over your head, right? So for the new people, I would say scroll down the list and look at which ones you actually know and which ones you're comfortable jumping into. So Evmos, Osmo, I mean, that's a pretty solid pool, right? Evmos is at this point quite a known entity, especially compared to if you look at the very top of the list of the Echelon, the Tori, the Lunacy. So that's what I would say personally.
No, I think Mark, I think that's a really, really good point. Because no disrespect to Tori or even Rebus, which airdropped very, very recently. They're small assets. They're going to be very, very volatile. Somebody could put in, somebody could sell their partners and their houses and their children and their cars and everything, including their underwear, and put it all in Tori. And then because Tori is so volatile, they lose everything. And then they go around without any underpants on, which is not good for anybody. Right? So I absolutely get your point. And, but however, what somebody might want to do is, you put some money in something stable and long-term, like Atom's not going to go anywhere. I don't think Osmo's going to go anywhere, or Evmos, but you might want to take, $10 into Tori Osmo, right? At 20,000%. Okay. I can do that.
Sure. Couldn't agree more.
That's a very good point.
The other thing I want to add is as more liquidity flows into these pools and as more liquidity gets bonded, these APRs are going to keep dropping. When we looked at this a few days ago, I think that was closer to 2 million APR, right? Yeah, exactly. And so here we are 48, 36 hours later, and we're seeing, 1/100th of that, right? So it's these APRs don't last. People go in. There's this idea of blue chips, what Mark was talking about, right? Familiarize yourself with the blue chips, and then you're probably going to have a slightly less worse of a time.
Yeah, and if you go to total value lock, these are the blue chips. I mean, you've got Bitcoin. I actually put in 0.22 Bitcoin into this pool, did nothing with it. I think I used Yeildmos, and after a couple of months or whatever, that was almost half a Bitcoin. Great.
Beautiful.
Wow.
No complaints there, right? But Bitcoin's not going anywhere. Wrapped ETH is not going anywhere, and USDC and Atom and Osmo and Evmos die. So these are the more stable pools but with lower returns. But you got to have stability as well. Okay, so this is Yeildmos. I have used this with my pool for compounding some of the staking rewards, but also some of the pools as well. Talk us through this. How does this work?
Sure. There's this technology that came out back in December called ALTZ that allows us to have the user issue us very specific permissions, which then allow us to do very targeted things on their behalf. What the implication of that is you authorize us to, for example, claim your staking rewards those staking rewards get deposited into your wallet. We then take those staking rewards and delegate them to your choice of validators, right? And this entire time, we're not taking custody or ownership of your asset. It all stays in your wallet and gets done from within your wallet. And we don't have the permission to even take custody or take ownership of any of your tokens.
Okay, how do I know that's accurate?
If you trust the Cosmos SDK, if you trust the grants that you're giving us, then you sort of have to trust Auth-C, because Auth-C is a module within the Cosmos SDK.
Right, and Auth-C is open source, and the Cosmos SDK is open source. So, so devs, people much cleverer than I would have looked at it, examined it, looked for any backdoors or anything. And of course, there's always the risk of some point, an error or a bug or a hack or something like that, right? But why I'm asking that is because it's one of the questions that I have is like, who has the private keys? Are my assets secure? Is there counterparty risk? And you're saying there isn't, but you remember I remember at high school, we had these cabinets, the chemistry cabinets, and I could reach inside and move, pour magnesium into water and then watch it explode, right? But I couldn't take the magnesium out or the water out and then do it outside the cabinet. So
that's a good one. That's a good one. I also like the analogy of Google Docs, right? We've all probably created a Google Doc. We've all shared a Google Doc. When you did the sharing, you can issue one of 3 different permissions to somebody, right? Owner, editor, or viewer. When you do editor or viewer, they're able to interact with that document, but you maintain ownership of that document.
Right. Very good. Okay, that's good as well. That's actually more up to date than the old chemistry tablet. Well, although they're probably still around. Maybe people have used Google Docs more. Okay, so then how would people use this? How would they choose?
I don't think they have to. I mean, if you're a degen like me, you probably already have 20, 30 different of these tokens that are already staking, and it already takes you an hour or an hour and a half to do all your compounding, right?
Yes.
So it's just like, let us save you some time, and at the same time help you compound your tokens, right?
Okay, well, let's have a look. This is the Osmosis pool. So pretty much anything that is pooled with Osmo can be used. You can use the Yeildmos app. So it's going to ask me to connect. All right, so I've now connected my wallet, and you can see I'm using one of these pooling mechanisms within Yeildmos to get 417% APY or something. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But Mark, you were saying something about this application.
Oh no! So I was saying, because before you were asking, like, how do we know that we're not giving up the control of the tokens? And I was saying, when you connect and you actually go to sign, we should look at what's actually going on in Keplr and what it's asking you to sign. And I think that will make it super clear as to what permissions you're actually giving up.
Okay. All right. Well, let's have a look. Where do I click on update?
So if you went to update.
Yeah. So here I'm using Evmos, Osmo, CZ Osmo, and Juno. It's also offering Juno, which is really good. And I've got the bonding period for 14 days on each of these. I think I'm also doing some of them for 7 days as well. Right. Now, on the previous screen, before I connected, there was one that said 20,000 plus. I hear it. Look, I'm getting a piddly 761. This is terrible. This is like a normal high street bank, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very close to the 2.5% I get in my high yield savings account. But the 20,000 is going to be that Tory Osmo pool, which you're not in, so it's not going to show that for you. Right?
So I would need to put some crypto in the Tory Osmo pool, and then it'll automatically show up as an option for me to select.
So right. So what you're seeing actually on the previous screen is a dollar weighted blend of all of your pools. So that estimated 417 APY that we see there is actually directly related to the pools that you're in, and that's like your dollar weighted average of all your APRs in there.
And that's the total cumulative amount. Now, how does Yeildmos give these sort of returns?
Yeildmos doesn't.
Okay, but
Yeildmos
how?
doesn't give these returns. These are directly grabbed from what Osmosis is paying out.
All right, but why should I use Yeildmos to do the pooling?
So
Sure.
you still have to go to Osmosis and enter and bond on Osmosis, and then you come to the Yeildmos to activate the compounding, which is where we take the rewards and put them back into the pool for you.
Right. Okay, so what happens is at the end of every epoch, 1715 UTC, apart from Evmos, which is about 3 hours later, the rewards are distributed. Ordinarily, I would go in and then put them back in the pool. But what happens with Yeildmos is I don't need to go in and put them back in the pool. It does it automatically.
Exactly. You should use Yeildmos because it saves you time and it makes things just so much easier, right? You don't have to remember every day to go figure out how much you got from your pools and like put it back in. You just come to us, say, okay, this pool, this pool, this pool. I'm in all of these. Let's just keep compounding it in, and that helps you gain more, right? Because of the power of compound interest, right? It's one of the wonders of the world, right?
The eighth wonder of the world, according to Einstein. Okay, now where do you make your money, and what about the fees? Because it's going to cost me fees.
So actually, at the moment, while we're in beta and while there's a little bump here, a little bump there, we're paying for all the TX fees. So we have no fees in sight at the moment. One day there surely will be, right? Because Gio and I were very accustomed to eating. So at some point there will be, but there'll have to be a DAO in place, and then we'll put it up to a vote, and we'll see. So there will be big announcements before anything like that is in place. So for now, no fees. Like, please, we just want to come make people's lives easier, faster. Yeah, that is the Yeildmos proposition.
Okay, so how are you funded?
A combination of self-funding up to this point, and also we've received 3 different grants from some ecosystem projects, right? Osmosis and Juno. So between those 2 things, we've been able to keep things going, and we have a fairly small team, very lean. So that's how things have been funded up to this point.
Okay, all right. So no fees for people who are using your application, Yeildmos application, for compounding, whether it's in a pool or whether it's staking. That's great. And you may at some point in the future, but you'll do it through a DAO, and people can work it out. All right. Now, the compounding, the staking, one of the things I can see, and I don't know if I've got it here because I don't know if it was my wallet or my son's wallet. Let's have a look, right? You got 79,757 and 82,753 staking rewards for Rebus and Tori. Okay, so clearly for a newbie, it would be great if I could choose the top ones by clicking on this. Please develop that if you're not already, right? Clearly, this is a Ponzi scheme. It's the only way, right? How are you getting these crazy rewards? Because Tori, the pool is only paying 20,000. Where am I going to get 79,757?
Right. It has to, actually, if we were to take the Tori Osmo pool APR and turn it into an APY, it would probably be 100 times bigger than that number, right? Because you need to compare the 678 and the 674 to the 20,000, because those are APR to APR, right?
Okay.
So when we compound that 20,000 APR, we're going to be somewhere in the millions, if not billions, of APY, right?
Right.
So that's all we're doing, is just taking the Rebus and the Tori and compounding it every 30 minutes, and that's how you're getting these 80,000 APYs, is from that compounding action.
Okay.
There is nothing that Yeildmos is doing.
Yes.
There's nothing that you're getting from Yeildmos to boost these rewards. We're not inflating a token of some sort to be able to pay you out these percentages, right?
Sure.
It's just the 8th wonder of the world.
That's amazing. Now, for people who don't understand or are pretty new to this ecosystem, if I compound Osmo, if I take my Osmo rewards or my Stride rewards, there's no fee if I use the low fee basis, low fee tier. There's no fee.
Right.
And I do that once a day. But if I do that every half an hour, then I'm compounding more regularly. But with Osmo and Stride, they pay out every 24 hours. So I assume Rebus and Tori, like Atom, like some of the other assets, they're paying out constantly. So then
every block.
Exactly.
Every block. So every 30 minutes, you're compounding. So then you're getting these crazy returns. Okay, now if I undelegate my Tori, I won't be getting any staking rewards on the undelegated amount for that period, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that still applies. Okay, wow, that is quite incredible. So I get to save time. I get to earn just completely silly APRs or APYs. Could you just explain the difference between APY and APR?
Sure. APR is the return, the annual percentage return, and APY is the annual percentage yield. Basically, the APY takes into account the compounding action, right? Because let's say you start out with $100, you get $1 worth of interest. You add that dollar back into the principal. Now you have $101. So you have, if you think about two different columns of numbers, first one is $100. You get $1 every single time. At the end of, let's say, 10 actions, 10 periods, you have $110, right? $100 plus the 10 $1 increments, right? That's the APR side, right? And then the APY column would look like something like you would get $1 on $100, right? Then the next compounding action, you would take that dollar, put it into the $100. So then the next compounding period, you would have $101 you would get the interest paid out on. So in the first case, if you got $1, in the second case, you would get $1.01, right? And then you would take that $1.01, put it back into, so now you have $102.01. And then we keep doing that math over and over and over again. As you can see, the interest that you get paid out every single time increases just by a tiny bit every single time.
Yeah. Okay. So the APR is just the flat rate, and the APY is the compounding. And if you're compounding every half an hour, then of course you're going to get very silly returns because you're compounding 678% every half an hour. And of course, this will go down slowly.
It already has. Those I think started out around 900-ish% last week. So they're already down by a third, right?
Terrible, only 678%, right? And I suppose like a very, very rough rule of thumb would be that if I put in one rebus, then after a year, assuming this stays the same, which it won't, but I could have 82,753 rebus, which won't happen because the interest rates are going down as more and more people stake, and there's more and more shared. Right. Okay, now you've got the Osmo liquidity pool where people can put money in with any asset that's paired with Osmo. Are you going to be doing that with Atom and with Stride and Juno and Yeildmos?
Oh, it currently works for any osmosis pool at all. So any of those pools will work, and we expect to, in the next few weeks, also support some of the other dexes in the Cosmos. So right now, every Osmosis LP should work, right, regardless of if it's an Osmo pair. And then we're looking at some of the other like JunoSwap and Crescent, and we'd love to support every dex in the Cosmos.
Okay. So if I pool Atom with USDC in Osmosis, I can still use
it'll work.
Osmos.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Just like I think on this account, I think you have the like a Stride Juno that works just fine. Yeah, just normally. Yep.
You're absolutely right.
Sorry, I just want to put out one caveat. Like, in order for us to be able to compound something, the pool has to have one of the tokens that is being paid out.
Right.
Because we do not give ourselves the ability to swap tokens on your behalf. So those just get left in your wallet for you to do with whatever you want, right? So like in the Atom USDC scenario, if that's paying out Osmo, we're not going to be compounding that Osmo for you. We're just going to leave that in your wallet, right? We do want to get to a point where we're able to give you the ability to select what to do in that situation. So we want to be able to offer you an option to say, okay, take this Osmo, stake that Osmo, trade it for Atom, put it back into this pool, or trade it for Atom and move it to Cosmos Hub and stake it. That's sort of the next iteration of the platform. That's sort of what we're working on now as well.
But what you pointed out,
supporting dexes.
what you pointed out there is like extremely an edge case. It's
Right.
99.9% of the time the pools pay out, the tokens that are the constituents of the pool.
Right.
Yeah, so that almost never comes up. And we have a pretty comprehensive set of docs that kind of go over a lot of the details. So if you look up there in the header, there's like the little book icon that will lead you to our docs, which explains a lot of things in detail. If you're interested in reading about how things work.
Now, who reads? Nobody reads anymore. They all watch crypto-rich videos, and they subscribe to him on Odyssey, so they get all his stuff, including the politics that YouTube doesn't like.
It's a good point.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, but it is all there, and also your Twitter and your Telegram, and I'll link to those in the description below. Guys, is there anything else you want to talk about or mention that we haven't covered?
I guess Mark, go ahead.
I mean, I'd love to share if you want to take a quick look. We just over the weekend worked on getting very, very new validator pages up. I would love if you want to take a look. Yeah, so this is a feature that we just released a couple days ago, and so we indexed every single validator that exists, and so we have a page for each one of them where they can share it with their delegators, right, and allow their delegators to set up staking auto compounding for their validator. So this is hopefully like a useful thing for the community and a useful thing for both the validators and the delegators. So you could see here we have Crypto Assassin, and they have 2 chains that are on that we can auto compound for them. And so super easy way. They don't have to install any software. They don't have to do any web development, right? This is something that they can share with their delegators, and everybody kind of wins, right? The validator gets more tokens, right, delegated to them because of the auto compounding. The delegators are happy because they have the auto compounding super easily, and yeah.
Okay, so everybody should know that Crypto Assassin is my cousin, and this is his validator. And of course, I'm going to promote him because I was the one who told him to get into crypto, and he's doing very, very nicely. So he's a validator for Osmo and Huawei. And what that means is the validators are the ones that checking that the chains remain honest and all the transactions go through on time and there's no cheating by anybody on the chains. So I'm able to, or anybody's able to, with this validator or any other validator, have auto staking. So they don't have to go through. Do they have to go through they have to go through the Yeildmos app still.
Yes.
But the validator, they can have their validator do the auto staking. Is that right?
So we would still do the compounding, but this is like a useful way for the validators to be able to offer this service to their users, right? Because many delegators, they aren't doing auto compounding, but they would love to, given the option. And a lot of validators would love to offer this, but they don't want to go through the legwork to try to, come up with this system for their users. So this fills kind of a big need in the community for this sort of a service.
Yeah, and actually, what it does, it favors decentralization, because I suppose the best resource, largest, richest validators can put this build this application into their service. But for a small validator, it's not so easy, but you're providing that for them. That is
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That also like the validators also don't have to set up and opt in to the restake model either, right? Because that also requires a little bit of integration there as well. So we that's why we support every single validator by default. That's one of the big questions we get is like, what's the difference between Yeildmos and restake? That's one of the biggest differences is we support every single validator by default. There is no integration or opt-in required from the validator to be supported by Yeildmos. And the other bigger difference is like you can choose to restake with Yeildmos and have a choice of multiple validators and different percentages, right? So you can choose to do 50% to your cousin's validator and have 50% just be deposited into your wallet and not be compounded and just be left there for you to deal with however you want, right? And then the other bigger difference is obviously Osmosis LP compounding, which Restake doesn't have any support for any DEX out
Right. Okay. Okay. That is very, very useful indeed. Thank you so much, guys. Is there anything else you want to let us know before we finish up?
No, I think that's it. If anybody, we're super responsive on Discord, on Telegram. If anybody has issues, you come see us. We make sure you get taken care of. And yeah, we're thankful for you having us on today, and we're thankful for the users. And yeah, just thankful all around.
Thank you. And what I've learned, this application is a whole lot better than I thought it was. You know, it's like, yeah, it's useful, but oh my God, I can do this and this and this. Okay, that's a whole lot useful. Now, thank you so much, Mark and Gio, for making yourself available. I'm going to have all the links in the description below. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the put them below the video. But also, you know, I invite you to take a look at this entire ecosystem because it's growing and growing and growing. And I think, you know, we're at the base of a bear market. Prices could go down a little bit, so, you know, more. So don't put in any more than you can afford to lose. But do check it out. Do check out my videos on how to get involved in this. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. This is Crypto Mark and Crypto Gio and Crypto Rich signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you.